I am going to call the meeting to order. And I have a statement to read, a public comment. Any citizen desiring to address the hospital board should turn in a speaker card to the board secretary. If the citizen comment pertains to an item on the agenda today, the comment will be heard early in this meeting. Otherwise, it will be heard toward the end. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Vendors, suppliers, or other persons seeking hospital contracts awarded on a competitive basis are reminded that their ability to address the board may be restricted by the terms of the invitation for bid, request for proposal, or other purchasing criteria. Lastly, the board has established a claims adjustment review panel comprised of representatives of the board, the medical staff, administration, and legal counsel to review and negotiate the settlement of claims. Accordingly, the board will not entertain comments on or discuss or negotiate claims at this meeting. And so I also want to note that Mr. Henry and Mr. Hudson have each been excused from in-person attendance for health reasons. Also, Jim Meister was present at this meeting until 1 p.m. when he was called home for a home emergency and has been excused. Next on the agenda will be the approval of orders of the day. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to add 2 items to the orders of the day, please.
Go ahead, Trim.
Well, actually 3 items. One, I would like, we didn't have a chance to ask this in our previous meeting, but I'd like the CEO to address the status of Lisar. We had a lot of discussion earlier today about Lisar, and if he could be prepared in his remarks to just give us some comments on his view of where Lisar is. The second is I'm interested in knowing what's the status of the development rights that we had with the downtown office building. Have those rights, are those still ours, or have we sold those, or what's the status of that? And then the third, continuing the conversation on this letter. If we could address those at the end of the meeting.
That is so noted.
There must be a vote.
Wait, so I'm sorry. Tram, this is Carol Ann. It sounds to me like you're actually just asking David to comment on 2 things and
Yes.
then add into the
Other business. Probably.
other business. It doesn't sound to me like any action is going to be taken, so I don't think you're actually adding to the orders of the day.
Well, fine. We can discuss. I want to make sure that the board addresses, maybe that's in other business.
It must be voted on by the board.
I don't think this is any amendment to the orders of the day, but I need clarification on the 2 are just comments, but I don't know what the third one is.
Well, there were 3 things. One was the status of Lisar, the development rights on the.
But what are you trying to add under other business?
The conversation we were having about the letter that Britt Reiner wants to send.
I think it's Sharon. He's saying the letter that Britt wants to send.
Well, it sounded like Britt was sponsoring the letter.
Is that a motion? Madam Chairman?
No, I just would like to discuss it under other business.
There was no motion for that. No,
Are
that
you
was
making a
strictly
motion?
a comment.
Are you
No,
making
I'm
a motion to add an item to other business?
No, I'm just saying that under other business, I would like to continue the discussion we had 5 minutes ago that was cut off.
He can make a motion to do that. I think that's fine.
we originally said we wanted to change the orders of the day.
So Tram, it sounds like you're making a motion to amend the orders of the day to add a specific topic under other business to be discussion of a guest editorial.
That is correct. If you want me to make a motion, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion failed.
So let me understand it. We are cutting off any discussion on this matter. I can't believe the board
Tram,
does not
please
want to discuss.
it was suggested to you that you speak with administration on your own after this meeting. But the board members have already spoken.
Well, I find it very disappointing that the board does not allow free comment on matters important to the hospital.
I make a motion to approve the orders of the day as presented.
We already had that.
We have a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so noted. Motion passes. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 18th, 2022. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is our board reports, and there are no board reports as of now, so we will move on to our medical staff reports. Dr. Fiorica does not have any report, but both Dr. Jefferson and Dr. Lichtenstein do have a motion. So Dr. Lichtenstein, Chief of Staff, will you present yours, please?
Yes, thank you. I would ask for a motion approving the Sarasota Memorial Hospital Sarasota Campus nephrology privilege form as recommended by the Sarasota Memorial Hospital Sarasota Campus Medical Executive Committee.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Opposed, no, I didn't hear the motion.
The motion was a recommendation to approve SMH Sarasota policies, guidelines, procedures, and forms that Dr. Lichtenstein had presented.
Approve.
Approved, thank you, Hero. Next is Dr. Jefferson, Chief of Staff, SMH Venice.
Thank you. I would ask for a motion approving the Sarasota Memorial Hospital Venice Campus nephrology, cardiology, general surgery, interventional radiology, neurology, and vascular privilege forms, all as recommended by the SMH Venice Medical Executive Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Hearing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Next, we have our Secretary's report with Greg Carter. Our Secretary, please.
Thanks, Madam Chair. As David mentioned earlier, on Thursday, June the 2nd, we'll have our strategic planning session at 8 till 11 o'clock. Then on Monday, June 20th, for the board meeting, we will meet at 9 until 10:30 for the Governance Effectiveness Committee. And then at 10:30 until noon will be Mission Planning Committee. From noon until 12:30 is a closed session hospital board meeting. At 12:30 until 2 is the board issues with lunch and financial review. And finally, at 2 p.m. until 4 will be the board meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Brad Baker showed up. He just sent me a text.
Tram, you're not muted.
Okay, moving on. Next on our agenda is our treasurer's report with Joseph D. Virgilio, the treasurer, please.
I have one item today. I move approval of the bed debt charity care for the month ending April 30th, 2022 in the amount of $17,024,000.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next, we have our financial highlights with William Wojcik, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll start with total revenue for April. And just a reminder, fiscal year-to-date numbers are through 7 months. For the month of April, total revenue is amounted to $129,330,000 compared to a budget of $118,196,000. So far in fiscal year-to-date, total revenue $860,897,000 compared to a budget of $785,289,000. Looking at total expenses, in the rating agency format for the system, total expenses for April, $120,711,000 compared to a budget of $109,660,000. Through 7 months of our fiscal year, total expenses of $805,669,000 compared to a budget of $741,483,000. Rating income in the rating agency format for April, $8,619,000 compared to a budget of budget operating margin of 6.7%, and the budget called for operating income of $8,536,000. We budgeted an operating margin of 7.2%. For our 7 months or fiscal year to date, operating income $55,228,000. We have a through 7 months operating margin of 6.4%, and the budget called for operating income of $43,806,000. We budgeted through 7 months operating margin of 5.6%. Moving to statistics for the hospitals, combined average daily occupancy 755 patients per day compared to a budget of 722. The Sarasota campus had average acute length of stay of 4.94 days, and last year was 4.7. Venice had an average acute length of stay of 3.98 days. Combined observation and admissions, 36,471 compared to a budget of 35,620. And continuous statistics for surgery cases, 16,101 compared to a budget of 16,706. Births through 7 months, 2,462 compared to a budget of 2,528. Continuing statistics, outpatient registrations through 7 months, 313,654 compared to a budget of 311,330. Combined registrations at our 3 emergency care centers, 85,112 compared to a budget of 85,936. And looking at case mix index for Sarasota campus for all patients 1.95. And Medicare patients in the Sarasota campus, 2.03, and for Venice campus, 1.49 for all patients, and 1.48 for Medicare patients. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Wojcik. Next, we have our committee reports. The Finance Committee with Sarah Lodge, the chair, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, sorry. Because we give citizens ample opportunity to speak at board meetings, our committee generally does not entertain citizen comment at its meetings. We do, however, permit public comment in rare instances where proposed committee action may in some way bind the hospital board itself.
You don't need to read that.
Disregard, I'm sorry. This morning, The minutes of the March 21st, 2022 meeting of the Finance Committee were approved. Tom Perigo, Director of Architect and Construction, presented the results of the public meeting held to rank the qualifications for general contractors and design team for the outpatient cancer pavilion project. At this time, I move approval of the rankings as recommended by the Public Selection Committee and the Finance Committee as follows. Architects and engineers, EYP Architects as 1, 2 Freeman White Architects, and 3 Hawk Architects. General contractors, Turner Construction and J2 Solutions as 1, Charles Perry Partners Inc. as 2, and 3 Brasco and Gorey. Next, we have Bill Woodgen, CFO, and Jeffrey Sarbeck of Ponder & Company gave a presentation to recommend a plan of finance to issue bonds in the amount of $150 million to partially finance the construction of the Behavioral Health Pavilion and the SMH Venice Bed Tower 3. They discussed the district's capacity for new borrowing in our existing debt structure and related risk exposure. The plan calls for issuance of tax-exempt fixed-rate bonds this September. At this time, I'll ask Carol Ann to read the resolution that would implement the plan of finance after the
Carol Ann, before you get there, don't we need a motion on the,
Did you not do the motion?
No.
I'm sorry.
We didn't get a second.
Motion, but we need to move the
Yes.
selection criteria.
We read the motion, but we didn't get a second on the.
Yeah.
I'm totally thrown off.
Yes.
All right,
You're okay.
you moved it, I will second
Thank
that
you.
motion.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. And now Carol Ann will read the resolution.
So this is a resolution authorizing the appropriate officers, professionals, and consultants to finalize and implement a financing plan for the issuance of hospital revenue bonds and providing an effective date. Whereas the Sarasota County Public Hospital District, hereinafter known as the district, is a body corporate established pursuant to Chapter 2003-359 Laws of Florida as amended, hereinafter known as the Act. And whereas the district, through the Sarasota County Public Hospital Board as the governing body of the district, hereinafter the board, is authorized by the Act, among other things, to provide at one time or from time to time for the issuance of revenue bonds of the district for the purpose of financing or refinancing the cost of acquisition and construction of extensions and additions to any hospital buildings and facilities of the district, together with equipment required in connection therewith, and to take all other actions necessary in connection therewith. And whereas the district, acting by and through the board, entered into a master trust indenture dated as of September 1, 1996, with U.S. Bank National Association as successor master trustee, hereinafter referred to as the master trustee, as supplemented and amended, hereinafter referred to as the master indenture, which governs the issuance from time to time of indebtedness of the district. And whereas the board desires to finance up to $150 million of the cost of the Behavioral Health Pavilion project and the SMH Venice Bed Tower 3 project, hereinafter referred to as the project, through the issuance of fixed rate revenue bonds of the district to be secured under the terms of the master indenture. And whereas it is necessary at this time to authorize the appropriate officers of the board and the district and the board's bond counsel, financial advisor, and investment bankers to proceed to finalize a financing plan to finance the project, hereinafter referred to as the financing plan, and to draft the necessary documents to implement the financing plan. Now, therefore, the Sarasota County Public Hospital Board does hereby resolve as follows. The appropriate officers of the board and the district, including the district's general counsel, together with Ponder & Company as financial advisor, Squire Patton Boggs US LLP as bond counsel, and JP Morgan Securities, Citigroup Global Markets, and UBS Financial Services as investment bankers are authorized and directed to proceed to draft and develop the necessary documentation for the financing plan. No bonds shall be issued without the further approval of this board. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage. If this resolution is adopted, then it will be effective as of this date and will be signed by Sharon Wetzler de Peters as board chair and Greg Carter as the board secretary.
Great, thank you. I move adoption of the resolution as read and recommended by the Finance Committee.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Next, David Patterson, ACNO, and Cam Watt, Director of Cardiovascular Services, presented a look-back analysis of the transcatheter aortic valve replacement program. TAVR volume has increased every year since inception of the program in 2013. This method of heart valve replacement resulting in less risk for the patient's immediate response to new valve once inserted and decreased length of stay for patients compared to surgical aortic valve replacement. The SMH TAVR program has better clinical outcomes and compared to patients in a national registry. Next, Bobby Pettit, Controller, updated the Committee on Insurance Policies which were renewed on April 15th. Insurance premium rates have increased due to global events which have occurred over the past year. Property insurance has been renewed with similar coverage to prior year with a premium increase commensurate with increase in property values plus a rate increase of 13%. The cyber insurance coverage was difficult to acquire this year and the new structure resulted in a 260% increase over the expiring policy. Lastly, we had Robert Milano, Executive Director of Supply Chain, updated the committee on recent developments in our supply chain departments. He discussed the increased number of back orders and supply items, alternative sources for product, inflation predictions, and supply savings achieved over the past 3 years. This concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is our President's Report with David Barringer, President and CEO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to start with our organizational report card, as I do each month, and we'll look at our 5 areas of concentration. The first of that being in the service area. We have a goal of having 8 out of 10 of our areas have a greater than or equal to 75th percentile of likelihood of recommending. I'm happy to report that we are hitting 9 out of the 10 of those year to date, and I'll show you the details on that here in a minute. In the people area, we have our goal of having 83% of our regular, full, and part-time employees that are hired during this fiscal year still be employed by the end of this fiscal year. And I'm happy to report that we are at this point still over that target at 87.98%. In the quality area, we have our goal of having our overall standardized infection rate be less than 0.85. I'm happy to report we're exceeding that as well at 0.73. In the finance area, you've already heard from our CFO, but Mr. Bill Wojcik. We have our goal of having our operating margin equal to or greater than 5.5%. I'm happy to report that we are trending towards greater than that at 6%. And finally, in our growth area of concentration, we have 2 goals. One is our inpatient admissions and observation outpatients, be it 60,000, 119,000 patients for the year. I'm happy to report that we are trending higher than that at this point at 61,587. The second goal is our outpatient registrations of being 1.125 million for the year. We are also trending that higher than that at 1.137 million. So looking at our patient experience report card, you see the 10 areas that we survey for likelihood of recommending. You see those listed on the left-hand side. In the middle column, you see what our actual score is. Next column over, you see the national median score, which I'm happy to report we are greater than the national median score in all 10. And then finally, you see the 75th percentile score, which is what our report card looks at. And we are hitting 9 out of 10 of those areas at the 75th percentile or higher. First Physicians Group being the one organization that's not quite there, but they're at 93 out of 94 with a lot of work going on. Next up is SMH is on a straight A safety streak. Sarasota Memorial received another A in the spring 2022 hospital safety report cards released by the Leapfrog Group this month. The national distinction recognizes the organization for its continuous achievements in protecting hospitalized patients from medical errors and preventable harm. The latest grades provide a look at the impact of COVID-19 on patient safety in nearly 3,000 hospitals nationwide. Many hospitals received lower scores in the pandemic era timeframe. Sarasota Memorial has earned its consecutive A's since it began participating in the Leapfrog survey back in 2016. Next up, we're celebrating our nurse staff during Nurses Week. Nurses Week is celebrated throughout the nation from May 6th to May 12th. A number of recognition events took place at our hospital to pay tribute to the exceptional performance of our nursing team. Whether working in inpatient units, outpatient areas, office settings, or in the community, our 2,500 plus nurses are known for their excellence, empathy, and expertise. Their dedication has remained steadfast throughout the long battle against COVID-19, and our community is incredibly thankful for everything they do. Particularly our board chair. We also want to take a moment and give our heartfelt thanks to our volunteers. National Volunteer Week was April 17th through April 23rd, a time to share our appreciation for the selfless service provided by our nearly 500 volunteers. These dedicated community members contribute their time and talents at our 2 hospitals and other sites. In 2021, our volunteers provided nearly 67,000 hours of service, conducted 8,502 blood transports, delivered 23,467 supplies, 16,897 dietary items, transported 17,004 lab specimens, made 5,600 flower deliveries to grateful patients, and so much more. Our volunteers have adapted to many changes and challenges through the pandemic and continue to make an enormous impact on their outstanding work. Special thanks to our hospital board for volunteering their expertise and countless hours given to the hospital system. So thank each of you. So anyone who's been following social media will understand this next one. After 7 months of chemotherapy, legendary ESPN broadcaster Dick Pytel is in readmission. The college basketball announcer recently rang the victory bell in a special ceremony at Sarasota Memorial's Brian E. Jellison Cancer Institute. He shared his love for his family, his oncology team, and many friends and fans who have supported him with daily tweets, messages, and prayers. So congratulations, Dick, and we're all rooting for you. Surface-guided radiation therapy. Sarasota Memorial's Radiation Oncology Center has fully implemented mark-free surface-guided radiation therapy for breast cancer patients. Previously, permanently marking patients was the only option. 3D cameras help ensure precise positioning for treatment and protect a pattern on the skin that acts as a virtual tattoo. So just want to thank Lori, her team, Kelly, Batista for getting this the latest treatment to us. SMH Venice Milk Depot to collect donated breast milk for fragile premature babies. Sarasota Memorial has opened a second milk depot at our new SMH Venice campus for local moms to donate their breast milk for struggling premature babies. Sarasota Memorial established its first milk depot at the Sarasota campus back in 2015, which helped SMH achieve National Baby Friendly USA designation in 2018. So far, in 2022, women have donated more than 6,000 ounces of breast milk through SMH, bringing the total donated to more than 62,157 ounces. A mother's own breast milk is preferred nutrition for a newborn, but when her milk isn't available, breast milk donated through thoroughly screened donors is the best option for critically ill newborns and premature babies. We want to remind everyone it is time to prepare for hurricane season. So hurricane season runs June 1st to November 30th. the Sarasota Memorial has emergency plans and procedures to help ensure continued care and safety of our staff and patients if tropical weather heads our way. In the event of a severe weather threat or emergency, look for updates regarding hospital services on our website, our social media, and in local news via other communication channels. Community members are urged to make their own plans for a safe storm season. Okay, now I had two questions from a board member that I just want to go ahead and see if I can answer these. The first was the status of Lisar. Not exactly sure the nature of the question, but let me talk about what Lisar is, where we are, and where things stand today. Lisar is an organization.
David, I was just going to say, to clarify, it was really off of the earlier meeting this morning when we were talking about supply chain issues. Daryl raised the issue of Lisar, and I just was hoping that we would hear from you your thoughts on this, either the supply chain issue or the status of Lisar. So thank you for bringing it up.
Sure. So let me just remind everyone what Lisar is, what our involvement is in it, and how things work. And and if I don't answer the question, the specific question you have, to just come back and ask me. Lisar is an organization that I'm not exactly sure how long it was here, but I think it's in the 25-year range at this point in time. It was created back then, and let me rephrase. There are two components to Lisar. We all think of it as one company. There's actually two companies. There's Lisar, which is the distribution company, and then there's the Cooperative Services of Florida, which is a GPO. Both come up under the same management out there. We have a whole management structure and team in place. So Lisar, when it was originally structured, and I'm going to use Lisar to combine both of these companies right now, was half owned by Sarasota Memorial and half owned by Lee Health down in Fort Myers. Over the years, we've had different some other owners pop in and out of one or two of the companies, and we've also had other customers. So currently, as it stands right now, Sarasota Memorial owns roughly 45% of Lisar. Lee Health owns 45% of Lisar, and University of Florida owns the other 10%. Other major customers that exist right now is the only other major customer that exists is Jupiter Medical Center on the east coast of Florida, and there's always in conversation with others coming in or not. The other company is Cooperative Services of Florida, which is a GPO. We own half of that company, 50%. Lee owns half of that company, but we have other members like University of Florida, like Jupiter Medical Center, and other companies. They all participate in the group purchasing, and each of those other two organizations have a board seat on the board, but they don't have actual ownership in the organization. Purpose of Lisar is purpose of Cooperative Services is to gather as much purchasing power between all the member organizations and be able to negotiate with outside entities and get the best pricing that we possibly can. The purpose of Lisar has a lot of different components to it, but the vast majority of it is to act as a warehouse, have supplies come into the warehouse, get divided up, and then sent on the road to the members for usage. I think the state of Lisar is very good, and Cooperative Services, we're always, they're like any other company. They always have their challenges, and they evolve over the last 25 years. So there was one thing that was brought up this morning, that there was one function that they were doing that Robert Milano had talked about, and we brought back into the organization. But I consider that not an exception, but an ebb and flow. As we find that they can do things more efficiently, we can move things over there, and as we think that we can do things more efficiently, we bring it back over here. That's just part of management and making sure that we get the best cost that we can for our system as well as others. So I know that was a very quick description of what Lisar and Cooperative Services is. I'm happy to answer if I didn't hit a question there, I'm happy to answer any other questions about it before I move on to the next topic. Is there anything I can help and clarify?
No, I think that was sufficient for me.
Okay, the second question was about the rights of the downtown condo units. And we had presented this, and I didn't expect a question today, so I don't have the number in front of me, but at some point in the past 2 years, we presented an opportunity for the board to where we could sell our rights to our condominium, to our condominium rights in our Main Street facility to investors who are looking at building condominiums around our facility. Does everybody kind of remember that? Okay. That deal that we had negotiated and brought to the board for approval did not go forward. And we disclosed that to the board, I'm thinking a year ago or so. It was last summer I did, okay, it was last summer I did that. So we are actively talking to others about those condo rights and the value of them, and if anyone else wants to come in and take a look at them. But we don't have an active deal on the table right now. We have a lot of people looking at them. If we did go forward with some other agreement, we do the same thing that we did last time. We bring it back into the board and have the board approve a motion to move that forward. So with that being said, does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. I guess my point in bringing it up is with the increase in property values that we've seen, and particularly in downtown Sarasota, would it make sense to have those development rights appraised so that we have a good feel for the value there and maybe actively try to sell them? Or would we retain them for that property? I just think it's something that has been like a moving target, and maybe we should look at having them appraised. I don't think we had them appraised on the first deal.
Well, first off, I don't even know who would appraise them. It would be an arm's length transaction. I would have nobody that I would know that could give an appraisal on that. It only implies there's only like 3 parcels of downtown that they could even be transferred to. So they're very, very restricted in who can use those and who can access them. I mean, I'll do whatever the board's wishes are, but I don't think that I would be in favor of spending any more money until we actually had a buyer who was interested in them right now, which I don't.
Yeah. Oh, that's understood. I support that.
Okay. That is the end of, oh, I have one other announcement. Are there any other questions first for me before I make one more announcement? Okay. I do want to take a moment and recognize Mason Ayers, who's sitting behind me. I think he's still sitting behind me. He didn't run away yet. Mason has headed up our healthcare foundation, and forgive me for not knowing this off the top, Mason, but I think it's been for about 5 years now. Almost six. Okay. So I think Mason has been great to work with for all these years. He's announced his retirement this morning. I just want to say in front of everybody how much of a pleasure it has been to work with him, that he has been a true partner, has really brought a lot of great initiatives and a lot of good activity to this organization, recognition through a whole lot of different ways. And Mason, we all will miss you and wish you well in whatever you're going to do next. But thank you for everything you've done for us. Okay, one more chance. Any more questions for me? All right, Madam Chair.
Okay. Next on our agenda then is the consent, for which there is no consents currently. So we move on to our public comments. Karen,
We have none.
are there any public comments? There are none. So that moves us into legal matters with Carol Ann Kalish.
I have no report.
There is no report, and there is no other business expected, so we will adjourn. And thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.